very much. We get the elephant out of the room right away. You know, in Wisconsin, you know, we're used to protests of, 70,000. I call that a coffee clutch across the street. No problem, Lieutenant Governor. I can handle it. I wanted to thank your great new chairwoman, Pat McDonald. She reached out to me. We talked on the day of her election. And since that time, she's been in constant communication with the Republican National Committee. As I told the crowd before, we need to make sure that we have a Republican National Committee that's well-financed, that doesn't leave you at the altar when you're about to win a governor's race in the state of Vermont. And that's one of the things that we do. Thank you. I also want to thank Steve Larrabee, and I know his wife is here somewhere. Where is Steve? Thank you so much to you and Steve and the family for everything you've done for this party. And I have to recognize, quite frankly, I didn't hesitate coming up to this dinner tonight. It's my pleasure. It's my honor to be here, not the other way around. I kind of feel like my buddies on the committee, I've gotten to know them very well over the last couple of years. Your two committee people here on the Republican National Committee, George Chabon, who will serve you now on the Committee on Arrangements in Tampa. George, thank you for everything you're doing. And someone who kind of feels like my sister, and someone who I've appointed. There's only 3 appointments in the country that I can make to serve on the Budget Committee of the Republican National Committee, and your committee woman, Susie Hudson, is one of them, so thank you, Susie. Well, it's true. My name is Reince Priebus, and I know it's bizarre. I can promise you about as normal as they come. My son's name is Jack. My daughter is Grace. My wife is Sally. My dad is Richard. My sister is Marie. And I got Reince. So I tell people that it's what happens when a Greek and a German get married. It's a clash of cultures, a disaster. But actually, I was at a fundraiser in Orlando a few weeks ago. You may have heard I need to raise a lot of money at the RNC. We may talk a little bit about that. But somebody, and I had one of these stickers on before, but they pulled my lapel sticker off of my suit. And the person told me, look at your name. I think they said Reince instead of Reince. But they said, look at your name. If you take out all the vowels of Reince Priebus, you get RNC, and it gets better, PRBS. So I know God has a sense of humor, but it's a very fitting name, I suppose. But no matter my name, I'm here for one reason. And that's to make sure that Barack Obama is a one-term president. I will say, I've only been in Washington for about 8 weeks, and it's great, first of all, it's nice to be out of Washington, D.C. nowadays, that's for sure. And it's nice to be out of a town that talks in all acronyms, like the CBO, the CI, the IRS, the OMB, the SOB. This is the town we live in. But in all seriousness, it's nice being among people who understand that more of the same in Washington is not good enough. People who understand that leaders can't merely talk about change, but they have to deliver change. People who understand that our country hangs in the balance, and and this president is driving us in the ditch, and people who understand that good speeches like today don't create jobs, they don't bring down the deficit, and they don't bring our debt under control. The other day, my son, speaking of civility, Lieutenant Governor, my son, Jack, is 6 years old. And he is I'm sure every dad says these things, but he is the cutest, funnest, most interesting little guy. But the other day in the morning, this is absolutely true, it's not made for speech stories that I'm telling you. But he asked me the other day, he said, Daddy, are you President Obama's worst enemy? I know he's a pundit in the making here. But the truth is, no. I don't think he's a bad man. I just think he's a very bad leader for our country. And when he came into office, he told us that the president needs to learn how to walk and chew gum at the same time. And I think he's wrong. The truth is, a president needs to know how to do more than just walk and chew gum. A president needs to know how to promise, and he needs to know how to deliver. And this president doesn't know how to deliver. And this is where really the rhetoric meets the road in America. And the president's record speaks for itself. He said that almost $1 trillion in the stimulus would create meaningful job growth. He said, and this is relevant for you here in Vermont, he said that universal health care would increase access and increase affordability. He said that he would cut the deficit in half by the end of his first term. And my personal favorite, he said that he wanted a debt commission, and then he completely ignored their findings. Instead, he went on his own way. He went on the way that the government knows best. Obama knows best. He proposed a budget that raised taxes and put Medicare and Social Security on an unsustainable path toward bankruptcy. He has put our country on a path to accumulate more debt than every single president before him combined. And that's not being a good leader. That's being an irresponsible leader. That's being a leader that is in love with rhetoric, distorting reality, and being a master of misrepresentation. He is a liberal dream come true. And we're not winning the future. The president talks about winning the future. We're losing the future. For the first time in years, more Americans believe that the next generation will be worse off than this generation. And that's why it's so vitally important that we defeat Barack Obama in 2012. We need a president who doesn't merely talk about principle, but a president who leads on principle, a president who will stand up and make the hard decisions today and will bring a more prosperous tomorrow, a president who wants our voice as well as our vote. You know, I think you'd agree, the Chiefs had a pretty good run here the last couple of months. We're on the right track. I see it every day. I'm going to start off with someone that I think you should study very closely. Because you've got a guy here by the name of Bernie Sanders that's a whole lot like a guy named Russ Feingold, who was defeated by somebody named Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. He just did a great speech yesterday. He delivered a radio address a month and a half ago to our president. You can do it here. Just like Russ Feingold got beat in Wisconsin, Bernie Sanders can get beat in Burlington. Leading the way, one of my best friends and providing a sustainable path for our country, Paul Ryan is giving the clear alternative to runaway spending, runaway debts, and his own pathway to prosperity that will be voted on by the Congress by the end of the week. And then, of course, I would say our great governor in Wisconsin, by the name of Scott Walker. He's leading the great debate in this country, whether we want to have a country of more takers or do we want to have a country of more makers. Do you want to have a country of more people riding the wagon, or do you want to have a country of more people driving the wagon? I would say we need more makers and we need more drivers in this country, and it's time that we start having that debate to be honest. These are people that they mean what they say, and they govern like they campaign. They've pledged on the campaign trail is what they're delivering on Capitol Hill and in the State House. This budget in Capitol Hill is a good example. The budget in Madison's a good example. You know, I took over as state party chairman. We were in the doldrums. We were a lot like you are, that you felt that you had been in Vermont, where people would say, well, you know, it's Wisconsin, it's tough, we're a blue state, you know. We're so blue, you know, we might be black, and it's hard to tell the difference, or that we're really deep blue. But you know what? I've said many times, and feel free to use this everywhere around this state. What this party needs more than ever, and we need to continue to do it, we started, it's real simple. We need people of their word to run for office, right? That's the first thing. We need people of their word to run for office. Then you need to win elections. That's number two. But that doesn't get you where you need to go. Then you need to do what I just said. You need to govern like you campaign. And then, only then, after you do those three things, and over time, you can rebuild trust and confidence and rebuild the brand of this great party back again. Today, right now, we are borrowing 42 cents for every dollar made in America to run the federal government. Can you believe that? When my son is my age, when little Jack is my age, we will spend 43 cents on every dollar made in America to run the federal government. Now, and you know who we borrow the most from, right, to do all that? We all know, right? What country? China. Now, even the most hardened Democrats can't possibly deny that we are not only borrowing too much money to run this government, but we're making promises that we all know in this room. And we all know, for people who might be watching this on the internet, and Democrats too, that we have a government that's making promises that we know that they can't keep. And in fact, we're asking our children and their children to pay the mortgage on and suffer the consequences of Washington's reckless spending. And unless we're willing to teach our children Chinese, we need to act now. And as we sit here today, our debt now equals the size of our entire economy. And in November, I would say across this country, voters made it clear that that is unreasonable, it's unsustainable, and it's, quite frankly, I think you'd all agree, it's unacceptable. We're beginning to see governors across the country having difficult, direct, fact-based conversations that the American people deserve. I've mentioned our own Scott Walker, Governor Kasich in Ohio, Governor Christie in New Jersey, Governor Daniels in Indiana. The list goes on. And these are not easy conversations to have, but they're necessary. Good leaders don't do things because they're easy or they're hard. They do them because they're right. And it's the right debate at the right time. We don't have the luxury of waiting another election cycle and hoping that this economy will turn around. The American people deserve to know the truth. And the truth is that this administration is not shooting straight at the American people. They talk about hope. The president today gave another speech about what we need to do to cut the deficit. But when it came to delivering a budget, when it came to delivering a piece of paper with what the proposal was to introduce to Congress to actually make a law, the president wasn't there. More talk, more hope. But guess what? Hope isn't hiring in this country anymore. Indeed, all the wrong things are on the rise in America. Taxes, deficits, unemployment, health care costs. So the fundamental question for all of us here today, and the question that we will carry through November of 2012, is: are you better off today than you were 3 years ago? No. And that's why we're here tonight. That's why defeating this president is so important to the future of this country. I can promise you on my life, I would not be here tonight. And I would bet that none of you would be in this room tonight if the only thing that you cared about was the future of the Republican Party. I care about the Republican Party, of course I do. I'm the national chairman of the Republican Party. But I'm not here, and I didn't run for chairman because I've got some deep, hand-wringing concern about the Republican Party. You're here, just like I'm standing here speaking to you as chairman of the party, because I care about the future direction of this country, and I want to save this country, and in the process, we'll save our party. Do you agree with me? Freedom in this country. Are you with me? 43 cents on every dollar made in America to run the federal government is a battle for freedom. We've come a long way since the Boston Tea Party, when ships didn't port to pay the duty, to get into a place where we're going to spend 43 cents on the dollar to run the federal government. We are in a battle for freedom. It's the same battle of freedom that founded our country. It's the same battle of freedom that James Madison reaffirmed in the Bill of Rights. It's the same battle of freedom that founded our party in 1854. And here we are again. Here we are again, fighting for the very idea of America as Republicans and as patriots. So the question remains: do we want a country that leads, or do we want a country that follows? Do we want a country of makers, or do we want a country of takers? And do we want to be a country that creates opportunity, or a country that facilitates dependency? The stakes are high, and the consequences are very real. So this is where I think our call comes in as Republicans, and where I come in as chairman of this party. You're all with me that we're in a battle for freedom in America. And now we need to do the things that our party can do together, unified, and working together to help Pat, to help Susie, George, and help us at the National Party to make sure that we're operating on all cylinders, making sure that we recruit great candidates that carry the message, the fiscal message that's driving our country and our message and what the American people expect out of our candidates. Make sure we're raising the money so that we can make all of our candidates competitive on the ground. We need to make sure that we're bringing forward the best possible for America to work together and save our country. You know, the RNC, and I can promise you, and Susie's actually been to a couple other speeches, I haven't really made such a plea, but I will tell you that since you're all with us and what's at stake in this country, the Republican National Committee, the Vermont GOP, they need to be fully funded. Not just with money, but they need to be geared up with a lot of energy on the ground, a lot of help. People ask me all the time, what happened in Wisconsin? Why were things just a little bit different there? In our state, we made more phone calls, knocked on more doors, did more absentee ballot chase calls in the last month of the campaign. These are things that are tracked over the internet than any state in the entire country. That includes Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, California, because we need to win a war, not just with an Air Force, but with an Army. The Republican National Committee is the only committee, the only entity in America that can take its resources and fully coordinate those resources with a presidential campaign. That's the unique position legally that the Republican National Committee is in. So at the end of the day, it's your job to pick our candidate, and it's my job to make sure that that candidate gets elected. We've all been blessed in different ways in this room. Everybody. Everyone has a talent. Everyone's been blessed. But the only way we're going to win, the only way we're going to come together, is that we're all working together for a common goal, and that is to defeat this president, elect more Republicans to office, save our country, and in the process, we'll save our party. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. I will stick around for a while to talk to a lot of you after we're done. But I just challenge you to consider what's at stake, to consider the fact that we are in a battle for freedom, and that the only way we can win is if we all band together in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Wisconsin, across this country, and that we use our one voice collectively together and say enough's enough. We need to put our country back on the rails and save the very idea of America. Thank you, and God bless you.